We've been telling you about abandoned homes and buildings across greater Cleveland for a while, but what happens when people are trying to save them?
It's a stately, old, iconic building. Has a lot of meaning to people here in Akron.
One massive fire and a piece of history goes up in flames. Those flames tore through an old church, and tonight it looks like that building is a total loss.
Yes, adding to the tragedy, this former church was on the National Register of Historic Places, and people want to see it saved. News 5's Bob Jones live outside Old St. Paul's Episcopal Church tonight. And Bob, is there any word on what started the fire?
Well, Zita, at this point, they are looking at all options, but the fire department says it does not appear to be suspicious. Air Tracker 5 is here to give you a look high above at the scope of the damage to this church. Some wonder if it's possible someone went inside the church, maybe started a fire inside the church, and that's what caused this big mess out here. Others say, could it have been electrical because the utilities are still turned on at the church? Regardless, it's a sad ending to a church 130 years old. Smoke surrounded the stately, iconic building made of stone. Flames raged inside its broken windows, and water from firefighters' hoses poured down the steps of the old St. Paul's Episcopal Church.
It is a sad occurrence, and it's a tragedy, and we hope we can find some good in this end of the situation.
The fire destroyed the former church, built in 1885. A second attached building did not suffer as much damage. The old church has been owned by the University of Akron since the 1950s and most recently housed the dance school, but it sat vacant for more than a decade. A few years ago, UA thought about tearing it down, but that thought process changed.
Actually, we were talking about what we could do with the building to keep it intact and move it forward and not abate and raise and take it down.
But the fire that collapsed the roof and gutted the building had other plans for the church that was on the National Register of Historic Places.
It's pretty tragic.
Yeah. Lauren Burge, an architect and board member with Progress Through Preservation, says the church is historic because of its design. The first to create a series of Sunday school rooms for kids. It became known as the Akron Plan.
There were hundreds and hundreds of imitators across the country. Only a handful still are here in Akron, which is the place where it originated.
Tonight, as firefighters search for the cause, many wonder, can any part of this once glorious church be saved?
If it can be, we're here to help. Now more than ever.
What ends up happening to the building, long-term, short-term, is yet to be seen.
Ironically, a preservation group has a meeting scheduled for this Saturday morning to look at-risk buildings in the city of Akron and talk about ways to preserve and protect them. This church was at the top of that list. Live in Akron tonight, Bob Jones, News 5.